Hello everyone, I'm Jharna and I'm talking to my best friend Edel and we're in front of the succulent, but the succulent is non-existent at this point. I need to get myself on. Um,
My succulent
so
died. She died.
where is the pot?
The scene of the crime.
Oh,
So I'll just keep it here. Okay.
so um, so we're here with a new topic today, and the topic is about aging and getting older. And I think this will be a topic that will be relevant no matter what year we're talking about it, because aging is something that I think most of us are scared of. And I think it'll be good to talk about what our actual idea is about aging so we can understand it a little bit more objectively, at least to the extent that we're able to understand it objectively, because it's a very personal topic to different people. What we consider aging is different to different people. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And yeah, so um, so what has been your experience with the idea of aging and actually aging, getting older?
Right. Um, it's actually, I have literally never thought of this topic, except for recently when my cousin, who is all of just 25 years old, told me how old she is and how her parents keep telling her how old she is. And she was telling me, I feel so old, Rubiaka. And I still haven't done my own analysis and sat with the feeling, but I remember turning 20 and having a nervous breakdown because my mom was visiting my med school with my aunt for my birthday. They brought a cake and then they said, your teens are over. And I had a shitty decade of teens, right? And I did nothing during my teens except suffer a mental breakdown, have depression, have acne, and just be worried about my exams and my 12th standard. This is all I did in my teens. But somehow I thought, my teens are over. I'm in my 20s. And it was, I think most of the time, whatever I felt was what was kind of expected of me to feel. Like, if somebody died, you're supposed to like clutch your pearls and weep. I've never, I mean, I felt sad, but I've never, I haven't, I forced myself to cry during funerals. Like I was always trying to look and fit a mold of what I was supposed to feel. Personally, I feel very indifferent about aging, and I feel this need to, um, I have prejudices about other people's ideas of aging. So already project onto other people, thinking, oh, this is what they think, this is what they think. So I have to act a certain way, I have to behave a certain way. But personally, I've always been indifferent. And for the first time in my life, I have embraced that indifference. And what is my age? Indifference. And it's not trying to act smart or come up with a quip. It has genuinely always been my age, and acting the way my mom thinks um, I should be. Having the fears she had when I was 22 and unmarried, and 23 and unmarried, and God forbid 27 and unmarried. I'm like, I can't go with that. I cannot go with the public's perception of what 40s should be like. I will not live through what the public's perception of what 50s is like, because I should have arthritis. I should develop, I should suffer from menopause. I have to die a lonely spinster's death. if I believed everything the world tells me I'm supposed to, if the world tells me I'm supposed to look a certain way, and I don't look that way for my age. So what am I supposed to do? Stop dyeing my hair? I don't think so. Stop dancing salsa? I don't fucking think so. Stop dating? I don't think so. So I think as long as I embrace my reality, which is indifference, I will be it makes me happy. And every time I lived in, resistance to the indifference I naturally felt to my age, and lived according to the rules that the world has put on and the guidelines that the world has put on, I feel so sorry for my cousin who feels so old, because old is a feeling, young is a feeling, um, and it's not a metric that has, like, it, when people say
Value
old,
or worth.
yeah. So acting according to majority perception of what that age looks like and will kill you, would kill me. So yeah,
Um,
that is my thought on aging.
my idea of aging, I mean, I've never really given it much thought either because, I mean, it's a number. You are going to get older every year, and that's not something that you can stop, right? It's like you can't say, I'm going to stop time and be 16 years forever and ever and ever, because
Do you
that's just
want to be
insane.
sorry, I'm sorry. Do you want to be 15 forever and ever and ever?
I don't
Oh
even
God.
want to be 25 forever and ever.
Oh God. Yeah.
So I think age is something, I mean, I've had a little bit of influence in terms of what I'm supposed to look like at a certain age, or what I'm supposed to look like, period. Because that's just something we get told all the time, right? You're a
Mm-hmm.
woman, so you have to look a certain way. You're a woman of this age, so you have to look a certain way.
Yes.
So that, I think subconsciously, it's there somewhere, but it's not something that's taken over my life as such. And just like what you said about your cousin who said she's 25 and she feels so old, I remember somebody telling me this when I was in college. I was doing my post grad, and this girl was a couple of years younger than me. I maybe 4 years younger. And she said, "My God, I just turned 21 and I feel so old." And I rolled my eyes so hard I wanted to smack her in the face.
But I did that too, because I felt obligated to the society to say I feel old. And
Mm,
when you say it and you adopt those standards, this arbitrary standard that every
mm.
single person has, it does make you feel a certain kind of way. And it's
I think I
unpleasant.
went in the
And
sorry,
it
what
is
were you saying?
like it makes you feel a certain kind of way, and it's unpleasant. And I associate that unpleasantness with feeling old. Just like how people who are busy, the ones who are really busy, seldom if ever talk about being busy, but the ones who have all the time in the world, they are the ones gassing about, oh, I'm so tensed up, I'm so busy, I'm so stressed. Then you're not qualified for the job you're doing it. Get out of the way and let somebody else who can do it easily get the job. You know what I mean? So I felt like somehow I was obligated as a woman to say stuff like, oh, this life is so difficult. Oh, I'm so old. I'm so, oh, I won't tell you my age. I'll be like, it's bullshit. That's the pressure I felt from the outside, and it made me feel a certain way. And I assume that bad feeling was aging.
For me, I think I went in the opposite direction where I would proudly brag about my age
Mm.
and be like, oh, you know what, I'm this age, so I'm older than you, and that's why I'm wiser than you. So mine was just the exact opposite of that. And I still and I still have to work through some of those issues, because your age does not represent your insight, your wisdom, your knowledge. It does not represent any of that, because you could be 80 years old and still not have maturity, still be somebody who wants to, have bad relationships by, sort of imploding them, because age is not a metric of who you are as a person.
No, it's
So
not.
And I remember recognizing this very clearly when I was watching some video where this therapist was talking about, I am 54, and she was so thing about her age, and that's when I was like, oh my God, that's a mirror that has been held up to me. I need to do the work on it. So it's not really been I mean, it's you get older. It's just what happens. It's not something you can stop. So I think a lot of times when we fight that getting older, of course, it comes with a lot of pressures from the outside, which is it's something that you can't do anything about. But are you able to separate it from who you actually want to be, right? Because when you say, oh, I feel so old, you'll have a bunch of people saying, no, you're so young. Don't
Oh,
think about it. Party time.
yeah.
So I think that's a lot of pressure. And I feel women go through a lot more than men do. I don't know if men experience this. I've never really had any male friends or, like male counterparts saying anything of that sort when it comes to age. I've never had any conversation like that. So probably women go through a lot more pressure than men do as well, especially when it comes to marriage, having kids early, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So, why are we, I guess this almost answers the question of why we're afraid to get older, right? Because of society's pressure. So, what has
I think
been your experience in terms of that?
um, I think a woman is valued, and it's not culture specific. This is all over
No.
the world. Women are valued for, forgive my vulgarity, for their breedability. Um, you have childbirthing years, and you are as valuable as, again, forgive my vulgarity, but you are as valuable as the number of eggs you have in your basket. And you are not valuable for anything else. And this is a kind of a feudal, almost Victorian mentality that we have, us, India especially, obviously I can only speak about India especially, have inherited from the colonists who who had that kind of arranged marriage in their society. They had classism, they had racism. Obviously, they were arranging marriages between each other based on a woman's width of a. Have you seen those corsets and um, those bum expanding? Sorry, I'm just so vulgar today. The
You're
bum
on
expanding
fire
skirts.
today.
I know, the bum expanding skirts that those Victorian women used to wear. That is to exaggerate their. It was pretty much saying, this is my value. So they brought that same mentality into our culture that had Jhansi Rani, you know, and had a matriarchal lineage and we followed the cycles of the moon, and people went to war based on women's fertility cycles because they wanted to stay at home and be there for their wives. And if their wives decided, it was, everything was centered around the woman. And then suddenly we had these backward minded colonists from Europe who came in and colonized our culture and left behind a very um, prehistoric mentality of what a woman is supposed to be. And we're still having arranged marriages like Victorian England has. We still look at caste as much as they looked at class and socioeconomic status and their what sort of account are they, what is their family background. So they've left behind um, seeds of their sin, which we're still reaping up until today. Um, so I I think that is one of the huge sins of um, left behind by colonizers, where they look at men for their ability to work and women for their ability to breed more coolies to work for them. And every time we now in autopilot ascribe to that mentality, I keep thinking the British have not left the soil of your brain yet. And I just feel so sorry for that slave mentality. Um, I am my own person, and my uterus, my eggs, my business. Uh, I may choose to have children. I may choose not to have children. Just like men, they may choose to have children or they may choose not to. I may choose to live with a man, or I may choose to be single, or I may choose to get married, or I may choose to get divorced. Or I have the exact same rights that for the first time, as an Indian woman who is not colonized in her head, I am exercising. And as a result of exercising it, I do come up with new barriers, which new barriers, new um, strange um, difficulties where I have to use my creativity and my chutzpah, and it makes me question how badly do I want that particular thing that I'm going after, and making lists on pros and cons and deciding what I want to have in my life, what I don't want to have in my life, discarding some, keeping some, and being my own person. If being my own person comes at the cost of my being invaluable, of less value to the society because I'm not akin to a breeding Labrador, um, so be it. So be it. I am worth that. I am so worth it. And yeah, choosing me and finding me came at the price of independence in my head, and independence had to be fought because I speak more English than I speak Tamil. I went to a Catholic school. I believed in a blonde haired, blue eyed God. So, emancipating myself from the feudal control uh, of the colonial past that was in my head, to see myself as a true blue Indian woman, the way my ancestors meant for me to be, has been a journey and a half. Has been a journey and a half. And finally, I'm a free Indian woman that I always have been, because I had to exercise a lot of those slavish beliefs, slavish Victorian beliefs, which may be fine for Victorian England. I mean, good for you guys, but you left behind so many generations, 6 generations of people died under them. So now we're on autopilot, right? And now I've got a child, a cousin who says 25 is so old, because in Europe, in England, women would get married at the age of 16 to 27-year-olds and 30-year-old aristocrats, because that was the only way. Getting a man was the only way for them to. I mean, if we've all read Pride and Prejudice, and we always romanticize Mr. Darcy, who's just, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm old enough to. Oh, Mr. Darcy was so disgusting.
I don't like him. I don't like him either.
Yeah, like, don't. Just, if you're going to rescue me, tell me you're rescuing me, get my consent, because I may be having my own agenda and on the plan to rescue myself. You don't have to save my family's honor. Thank you very much. That European mindset I needed to get rid of. And when I sank into the flesh and blood of my black skin Indianness, I swear to God, what is age? So yeah, that's been my. What was the question?
Why are we afraid to age?
Yeah, we're afraid to age because we're still slaves in our head.
Yeah.
And it is an inheritance from our colonialist past. Yes.
And it's so strange that in the West now people think that India is a country that has always believed in arranged marriages for centuries, and I
God,
don't think
no.
that's the case.
No.
Yeah, but
Arranged
that's
marriage
exactly
was
what
brought
people
in by.
believe.
No, arranged marriage was brought in by the British. How
Yeah,
Indians used to choose their spouse was, um, the women would, the men, I mean, like a warrior family could have an agrarian daughter. So she
Mm.
would prefer to be a gardener. And so she would choose a man with similar interests. And they would usually find the people that would introduce them to each other would be the guru, the local guru of the thing, or the priest would say these are available. And the onus of choosing the man was always the woman's priority. And also the dowry, as we know it,
Yeah.
was brought in by the British. The British paid dowry. We didn't have that concept at all.
Mm.
We didn't have caste the way we know it now. Was a defined science after the British, because in their attempt, half-hearted attempt to understand what caste really means in our country, they decided to ask two, three people whom they considered experts. And an expert is obviously somebody who knows how to speak English. So they would ask them, and those people came up with stories on what casteism is, and they came up with another story on what casteism is, and that was taught to us. And now we believe the same bullshit. So, yeah, that's, yeah, age is a very colonial mindset. Especially if it is for women. I don't know about, yeah, probably for men too.
I don't think, I don't know, somehow I don't think men go through it as much as women do, at least in my experience, what I've seen.
I do know one particular guy who's a very good friend, who constantly says, "Yo, vayasai pochunga Edel, ella vayasai pochu." So he keeps on saying that means like, oh, I've become old age has happened, like my hair's gone. So I don't know whether he says it as a joke or he really means it, but I feel there's a
I
kernel of
think
truth to it.
I think like you said, most people say stuff because they think they're expected to say it. So they just
I
sort of
hmm,
go with it, and anything that deviates from that is considered abnormal. And
yes,
nobody wants to be that abnormal person, I think.
God
I
no.
mean, at least most people don't. I mean, you've pretty much covered um, everything. I don't really have anything to say on that
Oops,
front.
sorry.
But
Oh, sorry.
I
Did
do
I
have one.
hijack everything? Sorry.
No, I know you put it really well because that is the truth, right? We're still following things that were done in God knows how many years ago, and we're still doing it. And now we say things like, we've always had arranged marriages. That's why you should have an arranged marriage. And I'm like, did you know about this maybe 100 years ago?
No,
Like,
no, 100 years ago they were doing it because, I mean, we didn't have a
oh,
choice,
they
but
colonized sometimes, I think, about 200, 250 years ago, right?
we were under British influence and
Yeah.
colonial rule for almost like close to 400 years, Janna. And so many millions of us died. So adopting their values and what they believed we had to live like was a matter of survival. So
Yeah.
I'm not faulting any of our ancestors for adapting whatever they passed on as norm for us in order to
Mm.
survive. I'm glad they did that because I'm alive today. But for
Yeah.
me to live in that same fucking survival mode, like as though my feudal lords are still on, on top of me, no. I'm a true blue Indian woman and I've rediscovered my roots. So F off.
Yeah. So I have one last question. How do you think we can accommodate ourselves a little better as we get older?
Embrace the power. What are we so, I mean, this I'm speaking for, yes, embrace the power. What are we so afraid of? What is so impolite or inconvenient that that we think, like, if people, you're going to lose people in your life because um, your being small is the only way, you're shrinking as you grow older and occupying less space and less real estate is the only way to survive. Why? Roar, thrive, go out with a bang. If you have to go out, take a few down with you. I mean, that's always been my mentality.
I'm going down and I'm going to take the whole ship down with me.
I'm sorry, you heard me say that a million times. Yes, that's I pretty much. And not just women, um, which is why highly accomplished women like um, who's the author of Pride and Prejudice? I'm so sorry.
Jane Austen.
Jane Austen. She died single because that is the British mindset for a highly accomplished woman with a singular point of view, which she can back up with arguments and cogent anecdotes, is just not going to be attractive to a man. And whereas a younger, less accomplished woman with who hasn't had time to develop a mind of her own, but has breedable hips, is so much more attractive if she comes with connections and money. And so she died alone. And so and yet, so many centuries later, we still talk about this video. We're talking about Jane Austen. So, how many centuries old is she actually? Did she
Uh,
really die? Is she really old? Because that
uh,
novel transcends time and space. It's been translated into how many languages? How many women read that universal story? How many times? Who was the man that she was in love with? What's his name again? Nobody remembers. He died young. And Jane Austen is alive forever and ever. This is what happens when you embrace your power and live life beast mode. Sure, you could be alone, but when you're living life in beast mode, do you want to surround yourself with skittish little meerkats? Or are you roaring and keeping people at bay because they just, you do not want to spend your time with people who suck the energy out of you. So, women, I think we need to be taught to be Indian, first of all, what it means to be Indian, how our matriarchal lineage came about, our devotion to nature, our pagan roots, what the Vedas teach us, what does Ayurveda mean, what is our martial arts, what to represent, what is our cycle, how to live from the beast within, and what does it matter? Age was never a chronology, was never a science, was never an Indian science ever. Um, and we just lived and we got powerful with every moon cycle. We just got more and more and more powerful. And every stage has its own power. And don't bring yourself small in order to accommodate a small person in your life and make them look taller. Don't crush yourself. For what? For age? Really? Really? You know, be Indian. I'm sorry, this has turned into a whole new topic altogether, but the mindset of age is very European and feudal. And it should be eliminated and abolished from all of our consciousness.
I also think people talk a lot more about how being youthful is amazing. Nobody talks about the wisdom that comes with getting older.
Oh, yeah.
And you learn so much more as you grow older, but that wisdom is not given so much importance as much as the physical appearance of a younger, more vibrant woman or man. So that is also something that needs to be looked at because
Mm.
I mean, yes, it's important to take good care of your health. It's important to work on, having a good physical body, develop your immunity, develop your strength. Those things are important. But you also need to understand that there is so much wisdom that comes from becoming older, surrounding yourself with people who are able to value you for your mind and not just for your body. So that is also extremely important. And another thing is just like read more because
Yes.
that'll let you explore so many different avenues which you may not have seen otherwise. Watch something on television that will give you a different perspective because being a certain way physically is not the only way to be. Looking a certain way is not the only way to be, which is why a lot of people feel that all their value comes from their look and there's literally nothing else outside of that. What have you achieved in terms of your education? Do you have your own business? If you don't have your own business, what other achievements are you working towards? It cannot be, otherwise, what is the purpose of being a human being? What your purpose can't just be, oh, this is my body, this is my face, this is how I look, and this is all my
I've bred,
purpose is.
sorry, I've bred like a Labrador. Look at all my cooties. I put cootie fortified. That is
And
biology. That's not achievement. Yes.
so we're built, our purpose is for much more than that. And you need to figure out what your purpose is, not because of what someone else says, but because of what you want to do with your life. So it's it's of course it's a very, very difficult concept overall for most people to sort of wrap their head around because it's so hardwired into our system. It's going to take a lot of cutting off wires, unraveling stuff to be able to get to a point where you say age is a number. And also time is, as a linear concept, is a construct that we have made, because of which it makes it even more like, oh my God, I'm getting older and I'm going to be like 80 and I'm going to die. So that's another thing, right? So you need to find out what really makes you tick and what you enjoy doing. Give your time to things that make you happy. And then age is just going to be something that happens in the background. I mean, hopefully. So, yeah, that's my little bit, I mean, my take on being able to support ourselves. All right. So, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Edel, for being here with me.
Thank
And
you.
we will see you next week with another topic. And if you have any questions, anything you'd like us to, I mean, give us feedback, please let us know. And if you like the video, click like, subscribe, and share.